So the reason is the ability of any component to pass the current to flow through it depend on its impedance. Or in case of capacitor, we call it a reactance. So the reactance of capacitor is given by 1 by 2 pi fc. That is, the reactance is inversely proportional to the frequency of the signal. So in case of a DC source, the frequency is 0. So 1 by 0 is infinite. So the reactance is infinite. So it is providing a infinite resistance reactance to the voltage source. So it won't allow the current to pass it through. Where in case of a AC source, we have a finite reactance because F is not 0. So it will allow the current to pass it through. So I am writing here the formula is Xc is 1 by 2 pi Fc. And so we can understand this phenomena by using one more equation, that is we know Q is equal to Cv and I is equal to dq by dt and C dV by dt. So for our DC source, voltage is constant, so dV by dt is 0, so that's why current will be 0. The full bridge rectifier circuit is used for converting the AC signal into a DC signal. It has 4 diodes. This is the diagram of the full bridge rectifier. It has 4 diodes, D1, D2, D3 and D4. And we have applied here a AC source which has a frequency, this waveform. So during the positive half cycle, that is from this duration to this duration, this terminal is at higher potential compared to this potential, and during the negative half cycle, this terminal is at higher potential compared to this terminal. And as you see here, we have applied the AC voltage between these two terminals. Now what happened, as this potential is higher during the positive half cycle, this D1 will conduct and D2 is reverse bias, so it won't conduct, and then current will flow from here and goes to RL, then come back here, then it will go to D4 because it won't go to D3 because this is at the lower potential and this one is a higher potential. So it will go through this path because here we have higher potential, here we have lower potential. So current will grow from this D4 diode and then come back to this point. So we can see the waveform input and output. So this one is the input waveform. So during the positive half cycle, we are getting a positive waveform here between these 2 points as shown in this black waveform. And during the negative half cycle, what will happen? This point is at higher potential, so D2 will conduct, then current will go from here, then it will go to RL, then come back here, then it will go to D3, then come back to this input again. So again we have seen this one has positive waveform. So during this negative cycle, we are getting this positive cycle at these 2 points. Okay, so this is the working, this is the function of these 4 diodes. Now come to this capacitor. So what this capacitor is doing, this capacitor is smoothing its waveform. So like first is getting charged to the full value, then during this cycle, so it is at the maximum charge, but it is start discharging to this level, then it again start charging and then come back to here. So this is a ripple. So this is my final output, which one is a almost like a DC source, this green waveform. So it's like a DC, and we can further smoothen this voltage into a constant DC voltage using a voltage regulator like 7805. The Nyquist sampling theorem states that if we need to digitalize any analog or continuous signal, then we have to take its sample at the sampling rate which is greater than or equal to twice its frequency. For example, if we have given a sine wave of frequency 50 Hz, then we have to take at least or greater than 100 samples per second. So, consider a case of a signal having frequency 50 Hz. That means in 1 second we have 50 cycles like this. Now consider a 1 cycle first from here to here. See, if I have to take its sample so that I can reconstruct it and to get all its information, or I can represent it almost perfectly, I have to take the minimum number of samples so that I can represent it properly. So suppose I have only 10 sample of this waveform like this. Then if I have to reconstruct it or output this waveform, then what I will get here, this signal. This is no way a representation of this sine wave. Okay, so we have to take at least 100 samples so that I can properly represent this waveform. So if this is a waveform and I am taking 100 samples, so here, like 100 samples, then what I will get here, a proper, almost proper sine wave. And if I take more than 100 samples, then I will get more perfect this input. Now the thing is, it states that we have to take the number of samples twice the greater or equal to twice its frequency. So we have to take 100 samples per second. So this duration for the 50 Hz is 20 millisecond only. It is not that we have to take 100 sample here for 1 cycle. We have to take 100 samples per second. So what we will do? We will take sample at the interval of the time period. So I have taken first sample here. Then after this time period, I have taken this sample. Then again I have taken this sample. Then I have taken this sample. So I have taken lots of samples in a 1 second, and I know I am getting all these points not in 20 millisecond time. I am getting at 1 second time only, but I am getting all the points. So I can reconstruct its sine wave and represent it as this. So this states our Nyquist sampling theorem. The difference between microprocessor and microcontroller is that microprocessor has only CPU, central processing unit. It has only processing power. It doesn't have RAM, ROM and other peripheral features. The example of the microprocessors are Intel Premium 1234 or i3, i5. And microprocessor is used in computers, in laptops, in notepads, etc. Whereas in case of microcontroller, it has processing power, it has RAM, it has ROM and other peripheral features. So it's like a mini computer. And the example of microcontroller are like we have ATmega8 or we have big microcontroller. It has many applications, like it's used in digital weighing machine, it is used in washing machine. It is used in microwave oven, robotics, and other automation projects.